How do you do? My name is Dr. Victor Loeb. In this modern supersonic age, it sometimes seems that we have lost our capacity to be amazed. Science has rendered the miraculous commonplace, and we have become smug in our dominion over nature itself. But I am well aware that there are also among you the morbidly curious, who have been attracted by the more provocative and, let's not mince words, lurid aspects of this case. Well, you will not be disappointed. For this is, I must warn you, a shocking story. But it is a story that must be told. So now prepare your minds for a new scale of experience. And remember, everything you are about to see is absolutely true.
This is the emergency podcast system. This is not a test. Movies are bombing all over the country. They are posing as movies you already know. They may already be in your theaters, your neighbor's home, or even your own. Do not panic. Specialists have been dispatched. They will help you identify these pretenders and defend you against this invasion of the remake. Please stand by for further instructions.
Welcome to the Invasion of the Remake podcast. I am your host, Jason Bishop, and with me today is Sam Stepanenko.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever time you listen to this.
And slightly under 50 feet, Trish Coughlin.
Very much under 50 feet. Not pounds, feet. But hey, everybody.
So yeah, I guess that's a good hint of what we're covering today.
If you didn't read the synopsis to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the title. It's in the title. Go look at the title. Did you miss the title? It's there. There's a title.
Yeah.
Always.
Okay, so we're going to be talking about The Attack of the 50-Foot Woman from 1958, directed by Nathan Juran, under the pseudonym of Nathan Hertz. And this is an Irwin Allen production-ish, kind of?
Kind-of-ish, yes.
Yeah.
It's got that Irwin Allen quality to it, for sure. Written by Mark Hanna. Mark Hanna also wrote The Amazing Colossal Man, which certainly on a roll here.
He's obsessed with giants.
Yeah. And Not of This Earth, which we will probably cover down the road because it's been remade several times. Mm-hmm. This original movie was budgeted at $88,000. But, 1958.
That's a pretty big budget, actually.
It actually came in $10,000 under its budget.
You can
Sweet.
tell.
Yeah, it's low budget. It did pretty good. $480,000. I mean, that's given what the budget is. That's
6 times its budget.
Yeah.
That is a hit.
Yeah.
Any way you cut it.
Yeah. So, did all right. I mean, I guess not all right enough because they did write a sequel that never got produced, but...
Yeah, I don't know if it was maybe the content or maybe they were like, how do we do the effects for a sequel? Like, I didn't read much on that.
How do we do a sequel and make it believable? Because let's face it, the characters die at the end.
But then the remake sort of shows you exactly how you do that.
Yes,
did she die or just fall over?
It's true.
That's true. I thought they tried to check her pulse, but how do you check a pulse on something that massive?
It'd be like a trampoline, wouldn't it?
Well, they thought she died, and her eyes open right before she's beamed up again.
That's true.
And they show her on the ship. So yes.
Yeah.
Good
point. Not in the remake.
Oh yeah,
yes.
No, the remake.
That's what I'm saying. The remake shows you how you make a sequel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like maybe what they could have done if they wanted to do a sequel is be like the ship shows up at the end of that movie because that's where it stops. So you could just start exactly from there, like Halloween 2, just exactly where it ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good device. It works.
Yeah, this movie has a 5 out of 10 on IMDb. And Rotten Tomatoes score, the critics really liked it at 75%. Mm-hmm. Audience, not so much. 31%.
I'm kind of with the audience on this one.
But it is a bad movie.
It's fun.
It is one of the best movie posters of all time.
Yes.
I think that's probably what it's most famous for, is its poster.
Yeah.
The movie's dumb as fuck, but it's
It's
so
fun.
good it's bad.
Yeah,
it's so bad it's good, so good it's bad. It both apply.
Both do apply, yeah.
I love
It's-
both
no,
of these
it's
movies.
so bad.
I'm not
good.
going to say I didn't enjoy watching it.
Yeah.
But I can tell that this. I can tell you categorically, this is not a good movie.
Yeah. It's a 50-foot, somewhat
Ish.
transparent
That's the
woman.
thing. The effects sort of, I found them really hard.
Superimposing in 1958 was still needed some working. They worked the bugs out. Yeah,
Yes. Well, it works really well.
I think they
with,
stretch. Like if you would have actually given her a profile, you couldn't have seen her.
yeah.
Because she would have been like it was smaller than paper thin. She was just
Yeah.
stretched to 50 feet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why she's somewhat translucent.
And the thing is, it worked really well for the alien.
He was, because
Yeah.
at least you think, okay, that is alien-ish, and then it happens to her, and I'm like, no, it's just shitty effects.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sort of where that came about.
The one thing I just remember to mention this before I forget is the first time that alien shows up, or the first time they show his face, I'm like, holy fuck! I didn't know Steve Buscemi was that old. Because he does. In that very first shot, he looks like Steve Buscemi with no hair.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess. Don't
maybe
really
I'm the
see
one who
it.
noticed that.
He
but-
actually played another townsperson as well.
Yeah.
I think a bartender or something.
Oh, probably the one bartender at the bar in town.
Yeah, the one bar, the one bartender. I think the town only had a bar and a hotel.
Oh, yeah, it's a podunk town.
Well, and that just reminds me, we've talked about these 50s horror movies before, and there's a trope in all of them, and it's like they're always these small towns in California. Always.
Yeah.
Right? They're not near a major center, and I don't know if that's about budgets or if that's just where they thought these types of things would happen.
Well,
And-
I think yes.
And this woman, Nancy Archer, owns the Star of India. There's no freaking way that she would be living in a podunk town like this, no matter
No.
how nuts she is.
Well, they do give you the idea that her dad essentially owns this town. Like she's a
In the
debutante heiress.
In the remake, yes. In the
Yeah.
original, she is the heiress and she's inherited already.
yeah, she's already
the
inherited.
fortune.
Yeah.
So it's but I mean that's part of the thing. Like I mean, you say there's no way they'd be part of that podunk town, but I mean that might just be one of the many houses they own.
It's the
Possi-
summer home.
Is possibly,
Although
yeah.
she is kind of known as the town drunk.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They established that really early on, and that
She's an alcoholic.
Which is weird.
It is
and she's
weird.
been institutionalized before, and
They certainly play that to great effect. It's one of the best lines for you in the remake.
yes, yeah. There's a great line in the remake, and there's a line where they're accusing Nancy of being drunk, or the motel owners accusing Nancy of being drunk. And she says, "I'm not drunk." And he says, "You don't have to be drunk to drink coffee. It's a free country."
Oh, I did like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody in the original was under the assumption she was drunk, so I like how they played that.
They played it really, really well, and it's delivered by one of my favorite character actors of the '90s, and even
Yes.
and continuing today. I don't know his name. He's one of those guys where I know that guy, but I don't know his name. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's fantastic. I love it. Every time I see him, I just enjoy his performances. He was in Strange Days.
Yeah, one of the car guys in Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. He was in Ferris Bueller. He was in not Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers.
Was he really?
Yeah.
He was in Howard the Duck.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of stuff. He's kind of like the Asian guy who was in all those 90s action
yeah.
films. He's kind of the same guy, but he gets dialogue. Yeah, but because it's such a unique looking face that you can't miss him, and I think that's why he's so popular as a character actor, because he never really has the look for a lead, but he's so solid.
Yeah. So this movie stars Allison Hayes from The Crawling Hand. We did some hand movies ourselves in episode, I think, 21.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I
it
can't
was a
remember.
while. It was a while. But go check that out if you want to listen about movies about disembodied hands, because apparently that's a weird little subgenre.
Yeah, we did that.
It's not
It
even that
is.
little.
We did do that. William Hudson is Harry Archer. He is also starring in The Amazing Colossal Man from just the year earlier, so also really likes the giant people movies. Yeah, and Yvette Vickers, who was in The Attack of the Giant Leeches. I'm sensing a theme here.
Well, this is the 50s, late 50s. Giant things were the thing. Giant insects, giant spiders, giant people. radioactivity was creating all these giant things.
That's true.
Yes. A very fundamental misunderstanding of what radioactivity does, but it is awesome because we wouldn't have all these amazing movies to talk about.
Absolutely.
Amazingly bad movies.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know about amazing, but interesting, I will say.
They're sure fun to talk about.
They are fun to talk about.
And you know what? Fun to watch. I still enjoy them.
Yeah.
Oh, like I said, I did not. I really enjoyed watching this. Both these movies, I had a great time watching them.
I did too. Also starring Roy Gordon, George Douglas, Ken Terrell, and Otis Waldis. Otis Waldis. Yes. Very cool. The remake was from 1993. It was by HBO. Home box office. It did get a small theatrical release, so it does count. But even if it hadn't, I mean, it was, I think, intended for television. I think we would have been talking about it because this movie was directed by Christopher Guest.
Yes.
From A Mighty Wind, Waiting for Guffman, This is Spinal Tap. Come on. Even if it only got televised,
we're going to break the rule for this one.
We're going to break the rule. And the teleplay was by Joseph Doherty. IMDb. People like this even less than the other one. IMDb 3.8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, the critic score was 22%, and the audience score was matching around 21%.
I still liked it. There's some bits about it that there were some improvements they made, but at some points I'm sitting there going like, oh, like, I don't know. I just can't watch Daniel Baldwin for an extended period of time.
I think people misunderstood that this was camp.
This was camp.
Yeah.
And
although the bridging sequence made not a lot of sense.
It understood what they were trying to do. Like when I'm watching this movie, it felt like I was watching like that 1958 version of the movie because like the camera look of it is sort of the same.
Yeah, Guest was trying very hard to pay homage to the original film, but still tell the story in a different way. I didn't like the last 6 minutes. I found that to be completely unnecessary.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
See, I like that.
That is a hammer your point home with the sledgehammer.
Yes.
I figured that's where the sequel would have been.
Yeah, the 93 stars Daryl Hannah. If you don't know that name, shame on you. You obviously never had a childhood in the 80s. Splash, Kill Bill, Wall Street. She's got a
Steel Magnolias.
Steel Magnolias. Hell of a career. And then there's Daniel fucking Baldwin. The other Baldwin.
The most unlikable of all the Baldwins.
And
that's probably because of the characters he always plays. But
yeah, he was in Paparazzi and actually a favorite of Sam and I's Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man.
Yes,
which is kind of cool.
Also very unlikable in that one, but
yeah,
he's supposed to be.
Yeah, he plays shitheel characters, and he does it very well. William Wyndon, he was in Escape from the Planet of the Apes. He played the dad. In that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Frances Fisher was in Titanic, Unforgiven, and True Crime, so I'm not sure what she
was
did
also
to get in this.
had the not like when we were talking about Gone in 60 Seconds, I was talking about Frances Fisher. She was like the girlfriend of James Caan, and I was like going, then like she had no lines for reasons I couldn't understand because she's Frances frickin' Fisher. That drove me nuts in Gone in 60 Seconds, an old episode of ours.
And yeah, so she plays Dr. Cushing in this. Christy Conaway, who plays Honey, she was in Batman Returns, Time Cop, and Doc Hollywood.
Not the greatest resume, but it's a resume.
No.
I really like Doc Hollywood.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
Batman Returns actually is one of the better of those early Batman movies.
And you know what? In this movie, I really enjoyed her. I really did.
Oh, she was really good.
Mm-hmm. She was. I'd say she was a
She's
more
a very
well-rounded
strong
character
part. Yeah.
Than the original,
Than
absolutely.
the original. Paul Benedict, who was in the Addams Family and the Jeffersons, probably most known for. And I think there's a little bit of a gag in his casting. What's that affliction? Agromelia or something?
Acromegaly?
Maglia, something like that. That
hormonal imbalance.
Thing where your body parts grow. And it's the same thing Andre the Giant had. He had the surgery much when he was younger, but he actually had that overgrowth hormone problem. So I almost feel like he was cast because of that.
It could be.
Yeah.
That would be a very Guest thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. It just sounds like something Christopher Guest would do.
How he is as that doctor, like he's a pretty good comedic actor. I think I don't know. I like to think that he was cast basically on.
Oh no,
his talent.
I love him. I
don't think it's stunt casting in any way.
No, it's definitely not stunt casting, but there's certainly a Guest sort of.
I think that's
parallels.
coincidence.
They're parallels,
just
yeah.
coincidence.
with Christopher Guest, we may never know.
That's very true.
I don't think he'll ever tell. Although Paul's gone, so at these days, so maybe we'll know. Maybe we'll know. Paul won't be too upset.
Yes.
I think he's a good-humored guy who would get the joke. O'Neill Compton was also in this. You might remember him from Nixon in Deep Impact, so he was the sheriff. Victoria Haas was Charlie Spooner, the deputy.
She was so much fun.
She was very fun. And, of course, Louis Arquette was Mr. Ingersoll, and you might remember him from Tango and Cash.
Mm-hmm.
It was a small cast, but it was a really recognizable cast. Like they're not none of them aside from our leads were particularly famous, but they were all actors you recognized.
Daryl Hannah was the only famous one.
They're all very strong
but
working
very
actors.
Yeah,
Yes.
they were all like really strong television actors. And then if you can't get TV and film, and if you can't get Alec, you can get a lookalike.
Yeah, you get Stephen Orr.
There's plenty of Baldwins that look just like him.
I think there's just a Baldwin phone tree. You start with Alec and work your way down.
They're like, fuck, we're almost out of Baldwins. Do we have to take Daniel? I guess we got to take Daniel.
Like I thought we agreed to cut it off at Steven.
The funny thing is, Daniel's actually probably a stronger actor than Stephen is, but because he got typecast as that nasty guy, it's really hard. It seemed to be really hard for him to break out of being the nasty guy because he's always a nasty guy.
Well, and I think it's sort of, I don't know why, but every time I see him, it's like he's got his hair brillowed within an inch of its life. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's weird, but when I think of Daniel Baldwin, I don't think of clean hair in any way. I think of just like, it's an oil slick, and I don't know why.
Yeah, it's sort of like a trademark.
Ready to play a 60s mobster at any moment.
Yes. Yeah. And this is actually a good place for me to talk about the differences between the two Harrys. Because in the original, even though Harry was a real dick, there was something charming about him that made it easy to watch him on screen. Right? I didn't cringe every time I saw him on screen. Every time Daniel Baldwin's Harry was on screen, I just wanted to punch him.
Oh, yeah.
He was just so unlikable. Right? And it's almost like they took it too far, but it was so important because of the way that they developed Nancy's character in this remake, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Right? The way that they made her kind of that meek, oppressed character versus the sort of neglected wife in the original. Right?
Yeah,
So
there's the things I like about both portrayals. Like the original one, I kind of like she's sort of a stronger character who just makes bad choices. And then where Daryl Hannah, like when she becomes big, it's also that everything she's been repressing also comes out,
and that's what I liked about it.
Which is exciting. Yeah. Like she's not only exploding in size, she's not letting stuff.
And her transition from that meek, oppressed woman to the powerful woman was so well done. Like she was two different people.
She's a good actress.
She is a good actress.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize how good she really was.
Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look at the original trailer here, and we will come back. There's going to be a little bit of a musical intro because that's what they did in the 50s, and it emblazoned with 50 feet tall and words like that. And then you'll get some cool narration. But we will be right back after the original 1958 trailer.
Once a normal, voluptuously beautiful woman, she drove into a nightmare of horror and saw descending from the sky a titanic monster whose fearsome touch became a frightful curse.
You think I'm drunk, don't you? All of you! I'm not drunk! I'm not! You've got to believe me. Please. It was right in the middle of the highway, 30 feet tall.
Once she's in the booby hatch, throw the key away. That'll put you in the driver's seat. You'd make a wild driver, Harry. With $50 million.
What she saw was beyond belief until others, too, faced its hideous, uncontrollable menace. Attack of the 50-foot woman, incredibly huge, with incredible desires for love and vengeance.
Harry!
Yeah, she does that a lot in both movies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Harry!
That was something actually I noticed that Daryl Hannah and, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the actress from the original.
Allison Hayes.
Allison Hayes. They actually have a very similar voice, especially when they're delivering that particular line. It's like almost like they took Allison Hayes' dialogue out of the original and just dubbed it over Daryl Hannah. Like, it was so close.
It was really close.
Yeah, it was actually kind of creeped me out a little bit.
You're right. You're like a couple times you're sitting there, wait, hold on.
Yeah. And they cast like two just gorgeous women in both these movies.
They really did, and they're both strong actresses. I think that Daryl did give the stronger performance, but I think that was because of the direction of the original.
I actually really liked Yvette Vickers as Honey. Actually, both Honeys were great. I mean, she just plays it straight up
Evil.
The husband's already just... He's only married for her money, and it's a marriage of convenience, if nothing else, and he doesn't want the divorce because he gets nothing out of the prenup. So something else has got to happen. And she's like urging him, just like, well, I'm not saying, but I'm saying.
Oh, no.
Knock her off.
She outright says that stuff she gives her will give her an overdose.
Oh, yeah.
She outright says that.
She actually gives him the easy way to do it.
There is like several assassination attempts.
Although, looking at the how he took the stuff out of it and put it into the needle, with all that air in there, you're not supposed to have air bubbles when you do an injection. That would have killed her. Screw what drugs were in there.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, no, that's true. And actually, I was thinking that as I was watching. I'm like, you're just going to kill her with the air bubble anyhow.
Yeah.
And she was so evil and manipulative that her demise doesn't upset you at all.
No.
Whereas the Honey in the remake is still likable. She's ambitious. Yeah. She sees Harry as an opportunity to...
And she actually has sympathy for Nancy.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, like when she finds her on the roof, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a nice moment where like she finds her, she's like, oh no. So she picks her up.
I mean, yeah, she's the other woman, but she just thinks this woman's pathetic. Both of them are in love with this man who don't deserve him.
No.
Neither one of them should have this guy.
This guy should not be connected to you.
The weirdest thing, I look at Honey and like she looks at Harry as sort of a way out, and I'm like going, that's like tying an anchor around your shoulders, be like, I better do this to escape this sinking ship.
Yeah, because I don't think she's in love with Harry. She sees Harry as an opportunity. She's very, very willing to leave him.
Well, wasn't she involved with the father as well?
Yes, they indicate that later at the end of the movie that this isn't the first time she tried to get access to this money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she's smart enough to do it. But I like at the end where she doesn't get killed.
Yes.
Because Nancy's like, don't, you're better than this. I'm going to leave you alone.
That sort of speaks to the feminist tone, the very feminist tone of the remake. Particularly at the end when they give the little blurbs. They notice that the only blurbs that they cover are these strong female characters that were in this movie. Mm-hmm. With Charlie and Honey and Dr. Cushing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like in Honey, the subplot with Honey is trying to study accounting and try to get like all kind of business courses to like kind of improve herself because she just does not want to be there forever.
She's not a hairdresser because she wants to be. She's a hairdresser because that's what she started with in order to have a career.
Yeah, she's got enough dirt on Cobb through Harry that by the end she's like, well, yeah, it still might be a little shady, but she's like, yeah, we're going to be 50-50.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Well, I think it's also when she was sleeping with him, like she's got dirt on him, she's got dirt on Harry. Yeah. But I love the way it sort of played out. They're like going, just wanted to hear I love you, but you'll talk about anything else to avoid those three little words. She's like, not my fault.
Yeah, another example of the great dialogue in this remake, because there is some really great dialogue. We spoke about the coffee line, and this was another great line. There's another line that we'll probably end with, I think.
Yeah. My favorite sequence in the remake. This doesn't exist in the original because this would be way too risque for 1958. And she's taking a bath. It's just after dinner, and I think she's taking a bath in the swimming pool, which is an awesome. It actually still kind of holds up. Like that scene looks really good. Talking to Harry, and she's like, "Come on, take a risk, go where no man has gone before."
Oh no, that's at the dinner.
Oh, was that the dinner? Okay.
Yeah, but the
and
sequence...
he's like, "What the hell? That's disgusting."
Yeah, do you want me to put on a wetsuit and a flashlight?
I know.
I'm looking at Daryl Hannah. I'm like, I'm willing to give it a go.
Yeah. Well, think about it this way. You're like going, wow. Like, I mean, I don't know.
At this point, it'd be like it'd be like a punching bag on that clitoris.
Yeah. But at that point, they were like, okay, no, this is your challenge. Like, if you're a guy, I'm going to make this happen.
That's right. I'm like, I will literally be the only one. This will be amazing.
There's something to be said about that, I guess. But again, that speaks to Harry's character or lack of it.
Yeah.
Right? He's not interested in his wife. He's not. He's
interested in her money.
He's interested in her money.
Although this one's not as bad. He actually tries to rescue her briefly, anyway, from the alien. Because initially, everybody thinks she's nuts. One of the ways out is to commit her and saying, okay, she wasn't of the right mental mind to get out of this prenup, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, she proves that the aliens exist. In the original, he shoots at it while it's holding her and then runs away. In this one, he does try to get her out and then runs away.
Oh,
yes.
But I love there's the other bit where he comes back. He's like going, so what happened in the desert? Like, you come back alone? And she just shows up here?
There's some questions of, like, did you just kill your wife?
Yeah. Or did you try to kill her?
That's why Harry tried to save her in the remake, because he knew those questions are going to come up. Mm-hmm. Right? Because
you guys all left together, but you came back alone? Yeah. It was just a logic leap, yeah.
The one character I really missed in the remake was the butler.
I did enjoy the butler, but I think...
loved his devotion to her. He was
the
strongest character in the original, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like,
his motivations were so clear.
Yeah, he wanted to help her. Like, I think that was the weird thing. But I think that characterization where he's kind of devoted was transferred to Dr. Cushing, that person who had no agenda. Mm-hmm. I feel that's where that was transferred, because they added the father and then there was this extra character that they didn't really need.
I think because they toned down the nature of the evil in the characters from the original. Like, everybody's just clearly, the motives were very clear. In this one, in the remake, they're like, well, we can't have him straight up trying to assassinate her, but manipulating things in a way where maybe we can make this happen without being so aggressive about it. And then Dad's just taking advantage of her too. I mean, a lot of this is about emotional and verbal abuse.
Absolutely, that is the entire subcontext of the movie.
Also about, like, these people are using her. Like, the dad keeps having her sign stuff, and the entire time I'm thinking, like,
she's not even looking at it most of the time.
No, well, he's telling her not to. Yeah. You can't look at it. But here's the other thing about it too. I'm betting $100. The reason that is because he can't do anything without her signature. It's all her money. Yes. He doesn't have a dime.
Yeah, I suspect. Did they even mention in the remake? Was it actually her mom's money? Not
yes,
his?
It was. Yeah, I mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought it was.
So I'm guessing her mom was smart enough to try and give it all to her daughter and none to her husband, but her husband still, because it's your dad. Yeah. That's also the harsh part.
And he spent her entire life manipulating her into doing whatever he wants.
Yeah. But then she gets, I love the bit where he's like, if you sign this and they make it smaller, she's like, well, if they can make that smaller, they can make that contract bigger. I'm not interested in signing your stupid contracts anymore.
Yeah, and that's one of those scenes I really enjoyed with her transition from being the browbeaten young woman to being this really strong, powerful, self-assured woman that she always should have been.
Yeah, she's looking down on everybody now.
Yeah,
and so seeing him from a different angle. Yeah. And I mean, physically, but mentally as well. She's finally seeing everything from a very different perspective and seeing it clearly for the first time.
Like, that 50-foot woman was in the normal-size woman.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I think that's the analogy that Guest was trying to convey. I mean, Guest could have done this without any aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Like, quite easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the homage of the aliens was you have to keep that.
You had to keep it in it, but he could have pulled off very, very well without it. But at the same time, respect the fact that he wanted to make sure that he was carrying over as many elements as he
I
could
think
from the original.
he's very effective in this movie, which is like the rating is really baffling to me. I always feel like the subtext went way over everybody's head, or everybody just didn't give a shit about feminism in the 90s.
No.
I mean, it's heavy-handed at times, for sure.
At times. But also the campiness, like just the look and the campiness was really delightful a lot of the time.
These are obviously people who've never actually watched a Christopher Guest movie.
Yeah, the first thing I thought of was like, oh, please have some music, please have some music. No music. But I was like, how awesome would this movie be if it was a musical?
It would be pretty awesome.
Like have like a whole lot of woman, something like that. The Trouble with Harry.
There's lots of great ways to work this into a musical.
If they can make this into like the 50-Foot Woman the musical, lots of people would watch that.
I would go.
Guess what? We're doing it again. We're remaking a remake, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, the remake's 25 years old now, so
yeah, this could be the next time.
It could be the next time. I mean, I'd even have Guest do it again.
I would too.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm a little baffled about the reviews because I think he did a pretty splendid job. It's a pretty enjoyable film. It embraces the cheesy aspects of the original and just it plays to the camp.
Yeah, it really does so well. I mean, when I first started watching it, and the first scene with Nancy driving, I'm like, oh, this looks really low budget even for the 90s. And then I'm like, oh, I had that moment. I'm like, oh, I see what he's doing, and it didn't bother me anymore.
Stylistic choice.
Yeah, it took a little bit for me to realize. I'm like, oh, he kept it in the 50s.
Yeah.
Well, what was weird too was I'm watching this, and then remember Mars Attacks. Mm-hmm. And that, to me, I remember that being a big thing. Like, people really loved that. And, like, this is very much hints of Mars Attacks.
Mm-hmm. It is. But I think that what happened with Mars Attacks was not a remake. It was an homage, and it was clearly intended as an homage to that genre.
Yeah, I mean, there was actually a Topps card set called Mars Attacks that was put out in late 50s, early 60s, and that's what they based that movie on. But it was very much inspired by those 50s sci-fi alien movies.
Yeah. Whereas this one was a straight-up remake, and with remakes, one of the things that people expect is it to be modern and updated and look flashier and take better advantage of the special effects.
The visuals of this are very Mars Attacks like.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's a stylistic thing that you could say, there's, you can see what Tim Burton also saw, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I like I said, once I realized what he was trying to do, I'm like, I really like this. Right?
Yeah.
I think I actually enjoyed it more because of it. Because I did see what he was trying to do. Yeah,
and I think he grabbed onto the right pieces. Like the first movie, they don't overdevelop anything there. It's a quick movie. No. It's only 65 minutes.
Yes.
And it's about feminism. It's about abuse.
And the oppression of women.
And he's taken that with a little bit of more modern slant, smoothed it out a little bit. And I think, that's the stuff you kind of concentrate on. And I really liked that her growth was tied to her mental attitude as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And there's also, when you talk about the things that he hung on to, there's a scene in the remake that does not exist in the prior movie where it's Charlie and the sheriff having a conversation about stuff like that.
That was so good.
And he's like, well, some people, they just think if they can give enough, the other person will love them back. And she's like, that's really dumb. She's like, is that love? He's like, no, it's not. But it kind of also comes to he was also trying to explore the mental state of somebody who, like, you know you're in love with somebody horrible. And it's hard to get out of that. You can't just stop it. You just think, maybe I can fix it. And it's a horrifying thing. And that's also part of the mental thing of abuse. You just think, if there's a way I can fix it, and that's just, you can't.
No.
Yeah, and I'd forgotten about that scene, which is odd because I really did love that scene too. It was that dialogue was, again, so good. And I really, if you have not seen this movie, or if you've watched it and didn't like it, try watching it with new eyes, especially after our discussion, and maybe see if you can see what we saw in it.
Yeah. Because, to be honest, I didn't like the 50s one very much. I think I enjoyed the remake more.
Oh, and this is one of those cases where I certainly did. I found the thing about the original, and it is a limitation of the budget and the technology, is it took a long time to get to the 50-foot woman.
About 50 some odd minutes. Yeah, it really is all the final act, and it really... She doesn't even speak once she's out there raging. She's trashing stuff. And,
it's always off-screen dialogue.
They turn her into kind of like a standard movie monster.
And once they do it, like you see, they made one big rubber hand, hand.
Actually, I think it's paper mache. Actually,
yeah, it looks bad.
Yeah, that's the whole bit. Like you see parts of her, and it looks weird.
But there are some of the superimposing in the remake that looks a little weird when she's holding Harry as well. You can tell it's not lined up quite right.
And there's the one scene where you can tell it's clearly a doll. Right? But I think that's on purpose. I genuinely think that's on purpose because that, again, knowing Guest's work, he does stuff like that.
Yeah, well, if you wanted to kind of make it look like a shitty 50s film, you want to see the seams, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and he also fixed a very glaring error. Whereas she's huge, but in her room, like she's grown to 50 feet. She shouldn't fit upstairs anymore.
Yes.
In the remake, they put her in the barn where she does fit.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, they do a great job. I think when I was sort of reading about the movie, one of the things they pointed out was that when she first grows to her 50-foot height, and I don't think she goes to 50 feet right away. I think it's kind of gradual. She grows really big, and then she gets gradually bigger.
Yeah.
But all of her clothes burst off. The bra strap even breaks, but the bra still grows with her. Right? And I think that was just because they wanted to keep it kind of PG.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, but you know what? There is kind of full-on backside nudity.
Yes, there's, honey. You get to see her butt.
Yeah. So, it still was HBO bold for 90... I mean, HBO now, you're going to get everything.
Yeah.
But back then, that was still pretty bold for television.
Yeah, even HBO, right? Because and I think that was partly because it was done in partnership with, I think, Warner Brothers TV.
Yeah.
So that might have something to do with why they stopped with the butt. Because they were doing that on Hill Street Blues at that...
that was network TV.
Yeah, that was on network TV. They were doing the naked butts and stuff. But... because Daryl Hannah's never been afraid of nudity, so it's not like she wouldn't have done it if it was appropriate. And that's one place where nudity would have actually made sense. Yeah. Or you cut away from it and just show her from the collarbone up, so you can tell that she is nude. But
because as a bra customer, that ain't gonna happen.
No,
I can guarantee you.
That was
I kept wondering what they made the clothes out of. I guess it's curtains and bed sheets.
Yeah, because
although, what the hell did she make that dress out of in the remake? And she did a good job. She's a good seamstress.
Yes.
See, I looked at that, and I looked at kind of the colors of it. You know what it reminded me of? Was the Sound of Music when they make outfits out of curtains. That's what I think they're made out of.
Yeah, they're made. They probably are, because not only does it have to be larger, it also has to be quite durable.
I was missing one joke in both movies. Just that dude looking up going, huh.
Yeah.
Because you got to figure she's running around commando.
Yeah, where are you getting underwear?
Yeah.
She only has enough. Yeah, that dress is.
And God help you if she's having her period.
Oh,
Splash Mountain.
Gross.
JJ, you had to go there, didn't you?
I did. I totally did.
They would have figured out something, because as we could see, they found a giant syringe and a giant cotton ball. Yeah. So they obviously could have made a giant tampon.
Apparently, there's some good manufacturing happening in this town.
For such a small town, they seem to have a lot of resources. Yes,
to make a very much a giant-sized syringe that looks like a harpoon.
Yeah.
Yes, and it does, and I love that. That's,
like, how many people were you going to have to charge at the plunger to make that work?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that scene though, because
back the car into it.
Yeah, because she's so again, it just speaks to her strength. And then when she throws a syringe and sticks it in the picnic table, I'm like, yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, when she starts kind of like poking at people with it, I'm like, oh, is she kind of losing her grip a little bit on her holding back. Not that these people didn't deserve it in a lot of cases.
I think that's part of it. Like, you kind of do lose your grip, because you're like going, so even when I'm like this, you still have the balls to try and drug me into docility.
I think that's the point where it pushed her from
pop them like a zit.
Yeah. they push her from that point from being a strong woman, sort of discovering herself, to going beyond that and giving into all of those repressed feelings.
Yeah.
And she goes over the top, and that's where this movie goes. Is it goes from being this, I hate to use the same words again, but meek, oppressed woman to being a woman who's so strong that she's not putting up with anything anymore.
No, and it's there's a lot of repressed feelings out there, and like, why should she put up with it? Like these
she
big
shouldn't
guys,
put up with it,
because they're trying to drug her. That is out of line.
And they're doing it to hide her away.
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to sit in the barn hidden.
Yes.
No.
And I mean, that's the point.
I mean, they're using it as an excuse to calm her down.
Oh, we're
because
doing
it's-
this to help you.
They're saying it's a stress on her heart as long as she stays calm, and she even feels those palpitations when she gets stressed.
Yeah, but at the same point, they are also being the ones who are providing that stress. Like,
Yeah.
they are the stressors, particularly Harry and her father.
And that's what Baldwin's Harry
He's
is
trying
very
to
much
do.
motivated by when she's trying to make those advances to her husband, and he tells her how disgusting that is. I mean, he is trying to work her up so she will have a heart attack.
Oh, and tell her he slept with all these people, and he slept with her cousin
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're
to try
very
and get her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she does say something like, "I'm going to squeeze you like a zit," or
Pop you like a grape, yeah.
pop you like a grape,
Yeah.
and then passes out. And she would say, "Men."
And he thinks he's dead. She's dead. But what I kept wondering
Yeah.
about was there was a point where it looks like a lightning storm is coming in, and for some reason I don't know if there's like a deleted scene, but I for some reason thought she kind of was, and then the
Frankenstein
lightning
moment.
storm just like as like the paddles just got her heart going the right
And
way
you know
again.
what? Again, Guest probably would have tried something like that and went, it just doesn't work
Little
for
much.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been taken too much.
So I think
Yeah.
I think some of the footage of the lightning storm had to be kept in because they had to show her coming to again.
Well, that would have tied in really nicely with her falling into the power lines as well.
Yeah, there you go.
It would have. It could
Maybe
have
that's
worked.
why
really well.
it's cut. Because like you want with the power lines, you want to think that she's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the power lines come into play in the original when they blow up the transformer
Yes.
interface.
So
Yeah.
there we go.
Well, and twice because she also shakes the power pole, and the lights go on and off
Yeah,
in the
she's
bar and stuff.
obviously bulletproof, though.
like that. Yeah.
Well, it's
It's
no.
not that she's bulletproof.
Imagine the teeniest,
Resistant?
tiniest projectile coming to you. Like imagine flies with guns.
Yeah.
And flies with guns are shooting at you. They're not going to pierce the skin.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. Yes, she's not bulletproof. It's just that they're
They need a
ineffective.
bigger
Well,
bullet.
they
If
say-
they would have brought like a tank, that might have hurt.
Well, and that
Yeah.
was the point. They were they filled that gap in the remake too when they talk about they're using an air to surface missile on her, right? That one guy's like, I'm not comfortable firing an air to surface missile at a woman.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. He's like, well, just think of her as a target. I guess.
Yeah, and there's a really bad gag. This is probably the only gag that I didn't like was when the sheriff says, "Don't fire until I tell you to fire," and somebody,
yeah.
and there's like this accidental order to fire. So bad.
Yeah, no, I think it should have been they just freaked out and started firing. He's like, I told you not to fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the sheriff's the only the only male character who's sympathetic to her.
Well, yeah, and he's got like this girl Debbie. Like he's also treating this is my deputy. He's the calmest, most level-headed character in the entire film. Really.
Really, he is. Yeah.
Well, let's run the 1993 trailer, and we'll talk some more about the attack of the 50-foot woman.
All her life, no one took Nancy very seriously. Her husband is cheating on her. Her father puts her down.
In the car, Nancy. I'll get into the car.
Then, one night, she saw something in the desert that was larger than life. Now, she's starting to grow.
The situation is serious, Harry. I'm concerned about the strain.
Come and look at the stars with me.
Are you all right?
You and I have a lot to discuss.
Doctors think being that size puts a strain on her heart. I doubt they'd be surprised if she keeled over like a mighty redwood.
There are pleasures waiting for you that no one has even dreamed of.
What did you expect me to do? Get a wetsuit and a flashlight?
I'm gonna pop your head like a little Concord grape.
Finally, her father has started looking up to her.
Hamilton, isn't that your little girl?
Her husband is listening to her.
Listening?
I don't suppose you want to hear my side of this.
And at long last, Nancy is going to get what she deserves. Big time respect. Nancy got big, got mad,
Make me.
and got even. Daryl Hannah,
She's big.
in her biggest role ever, Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
How'd she get so big?
When I was watching this movie, I was actually watching it quite closely because I was enjoying it so much. And I texted Jay after this dinner scene where she set up a dinner on top of one of the trucks, like one of those moving trucks. Mm-hmm. And it actually says Arkoff and Corman Trucking. Mm-hmm. So Guest is obviously a fan of the 50s B films because he's paying homage to Samuel Arkoff and Roger Corman, even though they weren't directly involved with either of these films.
And that was American something Pictures, AIP.
AIP is what it is. Yeah.
AIP. Yeah, I did find a Roger Corman connection, a very tenuous one. Apparently, he's the one who produced the ad campaign for Attack of the 50-Foot Woman.
There we go.
Okay.
So there was a connection, a very tenuous one.
Yes.
I think it still works because that ad campaign, you remember Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. You would remember that.
Yeah, and certainly, I think Guest was just really trying to hammer home very subtly. This is where he was subtle. He was just trying to hammer home that this really is an homage to the 50s, those 50s B films, and not to take it seriously. And it's supposed to look that way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's like I said, you kind of want to see the seams, and that is that nod to all those old Corman films as well.
That's awesome. Speaking of stuff that you noticed in the background, did you notice that it was always Milo and Otis in some other movie?
Yes, I did notice that.
I'm like,
freaking
it
awesome.
takes place in the 50s.
See, I don't know if it was the 50s. I think it was like sort of they were doing a callback to the 50s.
They kept it was always sort of ambiguous. Like all the cars looked like they were.
She has a phone in her car.
Yeah, she did have a phone in her car though, but they all look like hers looked her car
looked like 60s and almost 70s.
70s, but the cop cars looked like they were 50s.
Well, wasn't like I seem to remember this in the
like all those old Plymouths in the original.
In the mid 90s, just fashion wise, there was sort of a resurgence of like big band, and then there was like sort of this blowback to like pinup looks. That's sort of what I kind of got from this.
Yeah, but the police
like
wouldn't be driving 40-year-old vehicles at that point. So I think that Guest just deliberately kept it very ambiguous.
Yeah.
Right. Because he does have sort of...
Well, Tim Burton would do that in a lot of his films. Like the Batman films have a lot of old vehicles in it, just to make the time period feel a little ambiguous.
Yeah. And it works. It works for this film.
Yeah.
Well, and I think part of it, too, when you sometimes do that where you combine the old and the new, the idea is like, this is just an alternate timeline in which the universe kind of evolved slightly differently than we have it now.
Because, let's face it, we have aliens, which maybe, and we have 50-foot women, which unlikely.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it's a fantasy world. Mm-hmm. And fantasy worlds don't have to correlate directly to real world.
No, of course not.
Right? That's the beauty of this type of film. But yes, I did notice the Milo and Otis.
Thank you.
And then, of course, Jay, as you mentioned last night when we were talking as well, that they are playing the original on the screen at the drive-in.
They are.
Yes.
Yes. That was a nice nod, and you actually do see the paper mache hand.
Which was perfect. I actually laughed almost out loud when I saw that they would use that particular bit.
She's just behind the screen. Harry!
Yeah.
The kids running into
art
town.
Imitating life, imitating art, imitating life. It's the Ouroboros of film. It's just eating its own tail.
It's the inception of movies.
There you go.
There we go, yes. But on the whole, I think both these movies were a lot of fun to watch.
Let's speak of the endings.
The endings.
In the original one, I mentioned
cut and dry.
It's cut and dry. She had picked up Harry, and in the struggle with all the people shooting at her, and then the Transformer blowing in her face, she must have accidentally crushed him because he's dead, and she falls to the ground, and that's the end of the movie. And very much that old movie trope of all movie monsters must die.
Yes, and actually that line the line that we're going to end on is actually at the end of the original as well. right? And I believe it's also uttered by Dr. Cushing, but in a slightly different context, I guess. And then, of course, we have the ending of the remake, which...
See, and this is where we're
going to have a little bit of discussion about it,
It would be where they would have sort of the beginning of this new thing, because I think part of it was the sequel. How do you make a sequel to this movie? Well, then you kind of flip it where it's somebody very tiny. And it's like the tiny person story in a world of huge people.
Mm-hmm. This tiny person who's unwilling to grow.
Yeah,
as a person.
There you go. And it's. I mean, it made me think of. Remember, Lily Tomlin was in the movie The Incredible Shrinking Woman,
which was a remake, I think, wasn't it?
I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that one.
Might.
I was looking at that one because there's The Incredible Shrinking Man.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
so-
I think that's what it was.
Yeah. So
Well,
I think,
to be fair, there's also the 60-foot centerfold and the 50-foot cheerleader. So they've done homages to this movie a few times.
that's true. Fair enough. Yes.
What was up with the 50-foot cheerleader? But I just sort of figured that was sort of where you would kind of flip this, is like it's sort of, this is a huge person's experience with like all these little people, like Gulliver's Travels, she mentions that. And now it's like the tiny person's experience and like all these big people, like they're a mouse in
Yeah, what
other
happened
world.
was the aliens had taken her away while she was holding Harry, and apparently they've done this before, and they're progeniting this giant race of women, and the men are stuck in perpetual therapy.
And that appears to be the case.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the two that are talking to Harry are trying to get him to expel his feelings, and Harry's just he won't. He can't.
Yeah. And when I looked upon this, I'm like going, I could see like this would be experimentation. Like I would go onto this, like this tiny human, like this is now the rats we're experimenting on, except in this land, right?
Yeah. And,
That's why they
and
come
it does.
here.
It shows you what a small person he is, and he's incapable of growing, metaphorically speaking or otherwise.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary. It was funny.
No, but I mean, that was definitely what the point was.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, it could have ended just with her opening her eyes and maybe being beamed up. And I think that would have been a perfect place to end it. It felt, again, like, here, you know what? I think you got it, but just in case, I'm going to do this.
Well, and I like the idea that at the end, the aliens come back for her.
Yes.
For me, that seems to be, rather than her just dying, like, what was this whole thing for?
Responsibility for their... Yeah, honestly, I have no idea in either movie. At least, they make the alien just seem kind of weird and monstrous and wanting her diamond.
Yes, because it's a power source.
As a power source.
And I'm glad they cut that out of the remake.
There was still something going on with the diamond, because the beam of light touches the diamond at some point, but maybe that's just transferring the power to do the growth thing?
I think it amplifies that beam.
Yeah.
I think that's what was happening with that.
Yeah. Guest really kind of acknowledged it in the sense that he had it present, but it wasn't a device for him like it was in the original.
No. But yeah, like it's sort of, the aliens, I don't know. I think part of it, again, I think this is all sort of an experimentation thing. What happens when we take somebody who's like generally oppressed in society, make them bigger than everybody, so like really they literally cannot get pushed around? What happens when we do that? And then the other bit too, like, well, okay, so we've done that. Can't shrink them down again. Apparently, they've not perfected that technology.
Yeah, no reverse frame.
So we'll take them up, and then they're like going, this tiny human we're curious about. So we're going to take this tiny human as well, and like just kind of figure out what makes that part of their race tick.
It makes me think that the beam only works on women as well.
There's the yes. I mean, and the aliens are not really aliens. They're just other large women. So that suggests that this has happened in the past.
We don't know. Like, are these other women from Earth? And
they could be Earth-like other aliens,
like,
right?
maybe we just never saw the aliens.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're clearly the men who are in that little therapy room forever and ever and ever are spouses to the other two alien women that you see.
Yeah. Well, it does sound like the only way out is to make change in your life or whatever, but yeah. It did.
But-
It also seemed like this weird purgatory.
I also was like, I kind of wanted to be on that ship because now you're on a ship and you've got the universe ahead of you. Like, how exciting would that be?
Yeah.
I would love that. Like, and he has that opportunity and he won't even go for it.
Yeah,
like, just grow as a person.
It didn't have the bummer ending like in the first one. She gets to spend eternity with Harry dead.
Oh yeah, that's
Whereas this one,
very dark.
yeah, this one uses the same line with a different meaning.
With a different meaning. And again, one of the reasons I liked this one better.
But you're right about the fact it was the 1958 movie. That's just the rule.
Yeah.
The monster has to die no matter what the monster is.
Yeah. And the thing is, she wasn't a monster. She was never a monster. She does a couple monstrous things, but she was never a monster.
But it goes to how you say, like, anybody who's different is quote unquote a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, they say she, rages on, but she doesn't act human once she leaves the house.
That's right.
Yeah, once she's had enough, it's just this blind rage, and she doesn't talk anymore. It's just.
Well, she does talk. She hollers Harry.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
You
they
never see her
hear
do
it.
but they hear it.
You do hear
it
it.
shakes the bar and stuff, right? So she does holler Harry.
Yeah.
Because and they put that really funky echo effect on it. And
Yeah, and Honey's like, dead, huh?
yeah. Right before she's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens when they're both. I think in both movies they're screwing.
Yeah.
No, in the original, they're in the bar.
Oh, they're in
Yeah,
the
they
bar.
don't
They're
show any screwing.
Smashed. They're smashed.
They're drunk. Yeah.
That's one thing I did want to comment on, and because you see this a lot in the 50s horror movies, is we have this impression of the 50s being very repressed and people don't talk about sex. But when you watch these movies, they really suggest that people in the 50s were pretty sexually active.
Oh.
With and without their spouses.
Yeah.
It's very, very noticeable, especially in the horror movies.
Yeah, like stuff was happening all the time.
I mean, watching the original one, I do feel like it's really bold for the 50s of the message they're trying to send there. And even in the characterization of like Honey. They're like, wow, this is like actually pretty bold for a typical monster movie creature.
It is because, while they don't show it, and they insinuate very heavily that these people are not just cheating emotionally, they're
having
very
sex.
physical. Right? Because he's in her room, he knows her room. Right? So there's no question that Harry and Honey are intimate.
Yeah,
but they're very apparent about it in the remake, and I actually found that kind of funny, especially the second time that they show them. And I mean, it's so much a parody of anybody having sex.
Oh, okay. Where his butt is, there's no way they're having sex.
Exactly, that's what I mean.
I was looking at it, there's no way.
Yeah, that's what I mean about that particular scene, because it's so obviously impossible that they're actually being intimate that it becomes funny.
Penetrating her navel.
No, I don't even think he's touching skin, man.
No, probably not.
No.
He's literally humping air.
Yeah. I don't even want to begin to imagine what might be happening there. But
because it's Daniel fucking Baldwin.
Yeah.
No.
No, that's an image nobody wants in their head.
No.
Truly. Yeah. But I really wish that Daniel Baldwin, because he's so good at this bad guy, if they'd given him a chance to at least have some... I don't want redemption for this character, because he's an asshole. But there's no comedy around that character. Every time he's on the screen, there's no break, like there's no levity at all around him. At least in the original movie, there was kind of these moments there where you could see him kind of questioning what he was doing. There's something about him that you had a little empathy for him.
But I thought he was more evil in the first one.
In the first one, I don't see.
In the end,
I see what you're trying to say, but I don't think he's questioning anything he's doing. I think he's cold blooded, but I think he's charming. He's charming one you'd fall for.
There's a bit of a resistance to some of what Honey's trying to say, and she's like, "Oh, I'm just kidding." And she wasn't kidding.
No.
But I think that's just self-preservation. I think at this point he's thinking, well, she wants me to kill my wife, but who's going down for that? Me.
Yeah.
I don't think it really is that he feels bad or remorseful about doing that. I think he just doesn't want to get in trouble to do that.
I'm not sure if it's something he's willing to do. Maybe it's a case of like, well, I can't straight up murder. I get nothing out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so it has
that's
to appear to be accidental.
That is it.
And I think part of it is the two types of character this Harry, the original Harry had, because he has that character he puts on that pretends to genuinely still be in love with her, right? And then you have the real Harry, and I think that worked really well because he's not nasty all the time, even though you know it's fake. Whereas with this Harry, he's just a prick all the fucking time.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah, you're right. Because it's sort of when you wonder, like, why on earth? Like, I mean, yeah, lots of people make bad decisions. That's what happens. But when he's like really, when he's kind to her and he's nice to her and like taking care of her, I'm like going, yeah, I see why she's getting sucked in.
Yeah, right. You understand why she's allowing him to manipulate her. And I understand what the writers and guests were doing with the remake, because they're trying to make her weaker at the beginning, and she needs these overbearing men who are constantly belittling her and putting her down to present that character to a certain extent. So you never get to see those moments of tenderness that you got to see in the original movie.
Yeah. So
again, even though they're fake, there's still those moments of tenderness that makes it believable that she would still be in love with him.
Yeah, because like when you see her talking to Harry or like even interacting with Harry, the whole time I'm like going, I do not get any of this.
Yeah, to be honest, either version of Harry,
well, you're not supposed to like him.
Yeah.
I can, but like when I see Sam saying, like, I can see why she's getting sucked in. But yeah, like just bad decisions. And in both movies, at one point, like they talk about, like, I don't know, maybe it's a genetic thing with like her mom. And I'm like going, yeah, the only genetic thing is just bad taste in men. That's what's happening. And I don't know.
Yeah, the original Harry was far more manipulative throughout the whole movie. Like you can see how he's smart and
he needs to be a charming sociopath. That was what was missing.
Yeah, and I just never bought that from Daniel Baldwin's Harry.
I just don't think anybody would fall for his act.
Yeah,
like he works for her father, and then you see their interaction. I'm like going, why is he still employed?
Yes, and even his interactions with Honey, where he's supposedly in love with her, he's not really very nice to her either.
No. Oh yeah, and in the original, like he's a skeevy, he's a psycho, like he's unlikable. But when he's with Honey, you're like going, yeah, this guy's really into this really evil woman.
Yeah, and she's even more evil than he is. It works really well in context with the original movie. But when they changed Honey's character, they had to change Baldwin's character as well, or the Harry character, to make him more evil. It works, but not as well as I just like the other Harry better. I enjoyed watching the other Harry better, I should say. I didn't like him, but
Daniel fucking Baldwin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was miscast. I think we've all just decided it's just horrible.
Oh no, he wasn't miscast.
No, he was perfectly cast.
Yeah.
See, I thought if he could have, you need those moments of charm, but even some people who can play the most horrible bastards, there's that charm underneath that you hate yourself for liking.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame Baldwin for that. This is one of those few things where I would say that this was the script and the direction that let him down. I don't think he had the opportunity to bring those moments in.
I don't know. I know Christopher Guest is a pretty good filmmaker. I think he might.
There were times I think Baldwin showed a little charm, but you don't get enough of it like you do in the original.
That's right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, because there are a couple of moments.
You are very correct.
Yeah.
I also kind of want to spend time in this bar they have in town.
But I'm not going to stop calling him Daniel fucking Baldwin.
Yes. Oh yeah. Don't stop.
Don't stop.
Don't stop. But yeah, the bar they have in town in the original, I want to go there. It looks like a lot of fun.
It does look like a lot of fun, yeah.
It's nonstop. Like it seems almost all the time. There's a hopping party.
Well, I think there's just a bar and a hotel.
Yeah, that's all there is in town. So what else do you do?
I guess.
She's known as a town alcoholic. How much do you have to drink to be the alcoholic compared to the other alcoholics?
Yes.
Well, what else is there to do in this town? That's not her fault.
Drink and fuck.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah. One other thing that I want to mention before I forget again, is in the original movie, Nancy had already been institutionalized once.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Whereas,
she had a history of mental illness at that point.
That's right. And it was due to a breakdown from when the marriage broke up the first time when they separated.
Yeah.
Right? They completely eliminated that, and I think it worked really well. I think that.
Yeah, she's more of a cuckold in this one. She's aware that her husband's a philanderer.
Yeah, and she's going to Dr. Cushing of her own accord for therapy to try and find it in herself to how to deal with this relationship that she's in.
Yeah.
Right? Because she still loves him inexplicably, and she knows that she shouldn't love him.
Yeah.
Right? And I like that. She knows that she shouldn't love him, but she still never gets quite past that, because even after she gets into that moment where she understands who she is and she becomes that stronger woman, she's still in love with this asshole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. There's times where you're like, those things sort of happen. Your head is like, oh, this is very bad for me. But inside you're like, yeah, I just can't stop it. It's the dumbest thing ever. The human body is fucked. Like they said, listen to your heart. No, your heart is dumb as shit. Listen to your head.
and this is a really good way of pointing that out, because it is her fatal flaw, is this devotion to this man who does not deserve her devotion.
No.
And Honey, I don't think in either movie is devoted to Harry. He is a way for her to get what she wants. They just have different ways of doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Harry's after Nancy's money, and Honey's after the money that Harry will get.
Yeah. Oh, and I see, like, after, like, if Harry were to murder his wife, I don't see him lasting much longer on this plane of existence once he takes off with Honey.
No, it's true. Especially in the original. I suspect, I almost guarantee that he would suffer a mysterious accident not too long after she got her hands on some of that money.
Yeah, I don't know. I would like to see that movie. I just see Honey as, like, this black widow that goes...
Well, the Honey in the remake, I think, would have wound up being reverse roles. I think it would have been...
She would have turned around and fleeced him just like he fleeced.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. She would have conned him, absolutely.
She was already using him either for sex or to get to that cash.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she was learning so much about the business of Cobb, Nancy's father, that she already had a way in because Baldwin was working for her father.
Yeah.
So.
And she was one of those women because she was using the only tools in her inner toolbox at the time, and she was using sex to get what she wanted.
Yeah. Well, and they say, like, she grew up washing these rich women's hair. Like, she grew up poor, so she didn't have the opportunities to, like, get her hands on that money. But the thing is, I think she does have, like, a head for business, and part of it is like, I think once she did get her hands on that money, be like, okay, now I'm doing business stuff, like, I'm doing what I need to do.
Yeah, and they say in one of those blurbs at the end, she does take control of that business.
Yes. Yeah, she does, and becomes quite successful, and then she becomes an advisor to, like...
The Sultan of Brunei. That seemed weird to me.
It was a funny guest joke, is what it was.
Yeah. Well, doesn't he actually own the Star of India?
I think that's exactly it.
Oh, that could be it. That's a nice obscure joke. I love that.
I just pulled that out of my ass, but I don't know.
Don't care. That could be brilliant.
But if that's the case, and I seem to think somewhere in the back of my mind that that's where that actual gem is.
Oh my God. So the sequel is she has the necklace, and then the aliens come back.
Yeah, but I think that it might, because Guest is really good at those subtle at subtle nods. Not all the time, but sometimes they're there, and it's up to you to figure them out.
Yeah, no,
I didn't have time to research that, but somewhere in the back of my brain that sounds
that's awesome.
Plausible anyway.
Why not?
Plausible if not factual. Yes.
I'm going to say yes to that.
Yes.
Makes sense.
Invasion iffies. it may or may not be fact. If you don't open the box, it is both.
Yes.
It is Schrodinger's fact.
Schrodinger's fact. The fact may or may not be true. Or in 2 instances, both are continuously true.
Yes.
In an alternate universe, perhaps that is true.
There you go. Philosophy and science and swearing and
yes.
And film analysis.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if you got the time to do your research, let us know where the fuck that necklace is.
Please.
Over at Invasion Remake on Twitter, Invasion the Remake on Facebook and Instagram, and of course we're Invasion of the Remake at gmail.com.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Tell us everything we know.
Tell us you love us.
Exactly. Tell us some of the stuff. Like, tell us about Milo and Otis. We don't get that joke. Help us.
I just got a comment on YouTube today, like, this movie should never be made. They were talking about Abbott and Costello. And I'm like, yeah, we agree, but it was still fun to do. I mean, just because we do remake it on the show doesn't always mean we think it should be remade.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes, like, I don't know. I liked what we did with that. It doesn't mean it should be. I would kind of like to see how that happens.
Yeah.
But these are dreams we have.
Yeah, the comment was if it's remade, it'll be the worst movie ever. I'm like, yeah, it might be. I mean, we're not experts. We just we like to take something we like and reimagine it, and it's something unusual. I mean, let's face it. There's lots of things that we all like that have been remade shittily.
Oh, and here's a fun fact.
We're not above it.
No.
Here's a fun fact. Remake or not, any movie could be the worst movie ever made when they're making it, yet they continue to make movies. So
exactly, I like that comment. So I thought I'd share it. I'm like, yeah, this is. duh.
Of course.
We didn't do anything. We just talked about it
And
theoretically.
we
so
played around with some of the stuff.
Nothing happened. It's okay. It's okay. You'll be okay.
Yeah, we didn't record the episode, go out to Hollywood, get financing, cast it, direct it, make the script, direct it, make the movie.
I've been a filmmaker. It's so much work.
It's so much more fun just to do it and pretend.
Well, it's fun to be out there too, in that final product, but I don't want to do it all the time.
Well, I mean, from the time we came up with the Abbott and Costello episode to now, which is quite a long ways away, I think we might be starting filming, maybe.
Yeah, we might have finally got that thing casted.
Yeah. Like, it takes a long time.
Which we haven't. So, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's not happening.
We don't have those resources, folks.
If it happens, it's because somebody really likes our podcast.
Exactly. Yeah,
and
so
we were not consulted. It is not our fault. We just put it out there. It is whatever happens.
Although if you do find out
copyright invasion of the remake.
True. Although if you do find out something that comes out that you know that we came up with, you let us know or let them know.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Go ahead and use it. I just want acknowledgement.
Yes.
That's all I want. To see my name in the credits. That would be great.
Exactly. See our name in the credits, or maybe one movie. We get one movie we get to do.
Or somebody's listening to our podcast in the movie.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
Or we're just sidelines. Somebody runs by, and we're just standing there. Don't even need a line.
Yeah, we'll be those dicks who spike the camera.
Yeah. 21 takes
We're in that
later.
scene, and we know the tree's in front of us, so we're trying to get out of the tree so we can get seen. Just scene stealing because of it.
Yeah, that'd be us.
That's us.
Yeah.
That's us. Yeah.
I only spiked the camera once. The one time I actually did get on camera.
Lonesome Dove?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was because I didn't know how to not do it at first. So then I'm like, oh, okay, I can see how I could do it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. When you're told not to do something like spike the camera, then it's really hard not to do it.
It really is hard not to do, and especially considering what you're supposed to be looking at is like coming in from right behind the camera.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah, exactly.
You're just like, give me a little tennis ball to look at. Something.
Yeah, something. But yeah, no, I figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's apparently it's a no-no.
It is a no-no.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look down the barrel of the lens.
No, treat it like a gun.
There's your film lesson for the day. Support the show. Go find us on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star rating and a short review. That'd be great. It helps other people get their
earballs
on the show. Helps us in the aggregate as well. I don't know how. It's weird iTunes stuff.
We don't know the algorithm. We just know it helps.
Do you want to say something? I know we have a lot of UK listeners, and maybe they're not using iTunes, but it's interesting because at first I thought we weren't even available on iTunes in the UK because it just wouldn't find our review page. It's because it is available in the UK on iTunes, but because nobody's given us any ratings or reviews, it just shows up as a null page if you try to view the ratings and reviews page. Yeah, that's why I couldn't find it. So it would be really nice to get at least one on there, guys.
Yeah, guys in the UK. We got some here in the US, so
yeah,
get some in there for us.
And we know you're listening. You're one of our biggest audiences. We know this.
That's right.
We love the UK.
Yep, and Ireland.
Ireland.
They're number 4.
Yeah. But yeah,
Ireland,
we know you're listening. We love you.
Mm-hmm.
We would really appreciate it just if you took the time to.
Yeah, we need some reviews in some of those other regions because, Jesus, even comments are region locked.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So, for fuck's sakes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Give us a solid.
Give us a review, but give us a suggestion. If you don't, okay, here's the deal. If you aren't sure about what to review, maybe suggest something you want remade or a remake that has been done that we haven't done yet on the podcast. We'll do that. Then you review that episode.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. Yeah, especially if you got you did a fan challenge and we did your challenge. For God's sakes, review the damn.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, please.
At the bare minimum.
Come on. We picked your name out of our butts. Well, no,
Whoa.
Out of our hats.
Whoa. That could be why we're not getting the reviews.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
No, we're not saying you have to, but we would certainly appreciate it.
Yes. We promise we won't pick your name out of our butts. We'll keep it very respectfully somewhere else.
Yes.
Oh, the places you'll go. Oh, the places you'll go.
Daryl had his 50-foot vagina.
Oh.
Oh, the places you'll go. Oh, the places you'll go. Oh,
A new version of Spelunking. Come on, somebody wants to do it.
You know what? I was going to drop that line earlier, so thank you for doing that. I restrained myself, but I was going to drop it.
I'm just kind of curious. Like, you go up there, like, I see the diagram with the ovaries, like the fallopian tubes.
Oh, you mean the G-spot does exist? I found it.
You would be doing a service to everybody.
Nobody knew you needed a ladder.
Well, technically, it's like all part of the clitoris. The clitoris is just like literally the tip of the iceberg. That section of nerves is all a part in a woman's pelvis. Just FYI.
Tip of the iceberg, but global warming's take care of that.
Yeah, fuck.
Can't win. Another way you can help out this show is tell your friends where to find us. We're on a ton of different platforms. iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn Radio, Player FM, Blueberry, Spreaker, Audio Boom, iHeartRadio, and even
frickin' YouTube.
And don't forget our host site, Libsyn, as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We drop every Tuesday on all of those platforms, but every Thursday over on YouTube, on the YouTubes. So, sorry. That's just the way it works. If you want to get us on the go, subscribe in all those other places. The entire library is there. The entire library is not on YouTube, but a good hunk of it is.
Yeah. And then, like, you go to those other places, it's on your device. Bring us with you. Come, let us walk with you. Let us travel with you.
That's right.
We'd be more than happy to keep you on your commute.
That's right. It's like us getting our exercise peripherally.
Yes.
Oh my God, if only it worked that way.
I know, right?
Is there an app for that?
All right.
Calories.
Well, we're jetting off to a function right after this, so we're going to have some coverage for you in a week or two. That one's going to take a little time to get it all together, but we are going to Calgary Horror Con this week. So we've already spoken to a bunch of guests, and today's day 2, so no rest for the wicked. It'll all be over by the time you hear this, but hopefully we'll get that out to you in the next week or two.
Yeah, and if you were at HorrorCon this weekend, you're like, hey, I was there.
That's right. There are some people who might actually be on the podcast this week, or whenever it drops. Yeah. All right, well, that was the Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. I've been Jason.
I am always Sam.
I continue to be Trish.
And we are out of here.
Dr. Cushing, what do you think actually happened to her tonight?
I don't know. I doubt we'll ever know. But I think Nancy finally got Harry all to herself.